Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crafts with Corey. I thank you for coming along on this strange and marvelous journey. Look into my mind, whatever you want to do. But anyways, today, kind of a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit nerdy, a little bit kiddie, but that's okay. But this is actually a 1/6 scale, radio-controlled Jeep. So 1/6 scale, so it is G.I. Joe size, so you can actually fit G.I. Joes in this thing. Radio controlled is by a company called ROC Hobby, ROC Hobby. It is actually pretty good. It's a lot of fun. I know, it's a kid's toy. Well, that's kind of a high-quality kid's toy. You can see all the underneath stuff, underneath bits. This thing's pretty solid, pretty beefy. It has actual suspension. And it's just a lot of fun. My father bought this to go along with the 1944 Willys Jeep that we have restored. And what we have actually done is, when this came, the original plastic, the original finish is just the straight glossy plastic. So actually repainted this thing in correct Jeep paint. It's actually the same Jeep paint we used on the Jeep. And then we re-stenciled it. So adding in some stencils, we added the same markings that are on our 1944 Willys, some bumper markings for unit stuff. All the stencils came from Noosta Direct, which is over in England. It is Noosta, Noosta. Great company, pretty fast, even though it was overseas. And the stencils that they shipped were great. They're reusable. I just used plain white modeling paint with this, flat paint. It looks a little crummy, which it should. You know, I gotta remember this is applied in the field. But, basically this is a brand spanking new Jeep right out of the factory. Well, I can't have that. I gotta have this thing looking dirty. So, today what we're talking about is just a little bit about weathering, little things. I've already done a little bit of dirt, a little bit of mud here and there, but talking about kind of like scraped metal, because with Jeeps, you hit things, you scrape them as you come in and out, and you wear down to the bare metal. So, just as an example here, the shovel that comes along with it, obviously a shovel, you're going to be using it, and you're going to be wearing along the edges. The axe that comes along with it, again, be using the head of it. So just simulating exposed metal and a little bit of wear. Again, this thing looks beautiful as is, but add in a little bit of wear and tear. Pretty simple how I'm going to simulate this scratches and scratching down to exposed metal is just testers. This is silver. That way it simulates exposed metal. And the technique I use, I learn a lot off of other YouTube videos, but especially from model makers, places like Adam Savage's Tested. He talks a lot about modeling and weathering of models, but this particular technique is called dry brush, so just barely, just enough to wet it, okay? And then, basically, you need to dry off your brush, so you just barely have enough on it, barely enough. Alright, let's try this. Try not to spill any paint as I go. So, having a 1-to-1, an actual scale Jeep as reference is fantastic because I know where the high wear points would be. So let's think about this. You're using a Jeep, bopping through the woods, whatever. Where are your high wear points going to be? Well, it's going to be right here. One of these is going to be right here because this is where you hit getting in and out of the Jeep. So all I'm going to do, just kind of lightly, just a little bit. Hopefully that comes up just a little bit. So these are places where you're going to get scrapes, getting in and out of the Jeep. Great. Where else is likely to get dented and scraped? Well, the fender. You scrape by things. So there's no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of have the inner kid in you come out. That shows up a little bit. So really you're looking for edges. you know, things that the Jeep would hit going by, you know, just a little bit of wear here and there. So any sharp edges would get hit or get dinged up. Also here you have a transition from this angle to here. That would just get a little bit. You kind of feel like Bob Ross every now and then, just happy little trees. Happy little trees. When you start to get low, just dab a little bit more. Dry off your brush. Okay. Because you don't want to load up on it. It's better to have too little than too much. It's really hard to get a lot of paint off if you mess up. So you don't want this dripping. You want this very, very dry. Another thing that would, I think in my mind, would get hit would be handles. You know, you brush by a tree or whatever, that's going to get hit. You can go a little bit heavier on this. Alright. The other thing that would get, not necessarily getting not necessarily getting damaged from outside forces, but this bracket right here holds the top bow. By the way, this thing does have a canvas cover. It's the cutest thing in the world. We'll get to that in a bit. But this would get scratched up a lot if you are taking on the top bow or not. See, that's a little bit much. Let's see if I can get... Yeah, maybe just brush off a little bit. Probably going to spread it, that's fine. But you're using so little that it should be okay to brush off just a little bit. Okay? But this would get a lot of use. And then also, I can tell you from experience, these poles that you use to set up the top, these get scratched a lot because you pull it out this way, and they get scratched all over the place. Another great place to weather, bolt heads. Again, they're just exposed. And then just a little bit on the sides. Just kind of have fun with it. You know, this is nothing big. The paint I'm using, by the way, is Testors. Just plain Testors model paint. Alright, next big place, wheels. So I'm going to load up just a little bit on my paint. Dry it off. But wheels are going to get hit a lot. So, still a little bit too much. Brush it on. See if I can get you guys closer to us. There you go. I'm using a new camera setup that hopefully is good. That was recommended to me. But just on the heads here, right in the top, and then also around the edges. So this would get some normal wear on your lug nuts, and then maybe just a couple places here and there. Flat spaces, I would stay away from, you know, this area. Excuse me, this area. You know, yeah, you get some scratches here and there, but you wouldn't get all that much. It's mostly corners. Corners are going to get you stuff. Anyways, I'm using a new light setup, new stand, so maybe it may not come through as clear, because this is just plain silver paint. Alright, that's getting heavy. This thing is kind of beefy. I don't have any doubts that this thing is going to hold up. Let's see here if I can show you here. One other place that would get some use. You knock into your stanchion here for your seats. So, you have a little bit of that there. Maybe in there. Inside is a little bit harder to see, but I'll paint that as well because that's, you know, obviously your feet are going to go there. So that needs some wear. Again, this thing is quite beefy. Just a little point, if you do plan on buying one of these or purchasing one of these, they do not come with a battery. So you'll have to get a battery as well. Alright, let's work on that front wheel. So again, right on the front. Even the details on the hubs. This thing's pretty accurate. I love this thing. It's just the neatest thing. But just a little bit on the hubs. A little bit on the nuts. Alright, and then go along the outside. Again, my brush is kind of crummy, but that aids in getting things to look worn. Alright. Yeah, a little bit here and there. Yeah, nothing too outlandish. You can see the battery connected there. You know, again, a beautiful model. Beautiful toy. It's a toy. I mean, to show you how good this thing is, maybe. The engine is even modeled. Now, we went through and painted things the correct colors, but the engine detail is wonderful as well. Alright, let's do a little bit on the hood. I wonder. Again, you're learning along with me. Let's see, what about color? Ooh, no. Alright, we'll keep with that. Bet you don't see that in normal shows. Alright, we'll decrease that. So, just a little bit of silver. Right on the front, because you're going to get some wear there. I'm not going to goof around with that. Alright, and the hood I'm kind of leery of, because it's like, you know, that's kind of a big part of this. You don't want to go too special, so just a little bit here and there. Just a little bit. Maybe a little bit on these exposed rivets. Right. And then just kind of along the front edge. I'm going to dry this off because I'm using a little bit too much here. But again, it's just giving the illusion of chipped metal, some wear, and even, you know, along the hinge here. Hinge would see a little bit of use because it's exposed. So, just a little bit here and there, and a little bit on this. Just kind of have fun with it. And these knobs would definitely have some. You got to be careful, don't get any on the window. The top attaches just the same way as an original full-size Jeep does. Kind of cool. A little bit heavier on these corners. Again, anything exposed, or anything that you think would hit things. I've done the opposite side. Let's see if we can swing this around here. So, done the opposite side just a little bit. So again, just ever so slightly. You don't want to go too crazy. Otherwise, it just doesn't look right. If you weather it too much, it just doesn't look right. Alright, I think we're good for there. I'll probably do a little bit more, but I'll spare you those details so you don't get too bored with this episode. By the way, we also, I don't know if I showed this or not, but we do have a trailer. Oops, excuse me. Come on. We'd have a trailer to go along with this as well. Next episode, we're going to do artificial mud on this thing. Some collectors are going to, you know, the vein of some collectors getting mud on things, but it'll be good. So, you know what? Again, this stuff ain't perfect, but neither am I, and that's okay. So, appreciate you watching, and hope you enjoyed. Thanks.